little background on myself. I have been using psychedelics for 11 years now and have been a habitual cannabis user for 13. The only reason I say this is because I feel as if it's important to give a history of my substance use. My first psychedelic experience was at the age of 14, with a dose of 2.5 grams of psilocybin. The reason I came into the use of psychedelics was the interest I had gained from my older brother, and his friends' stories they told about their experiences. They were very minor psychedelic users with only a few trips under their belts, so they only described it as intense and you laughed a shit ton. So my friends, I did not come into the use of psychedelics with a spiritual intent. We built a relationship with the psychedelics that came about naturally. You could say we fell into it. I feel like this has had a large influence on my natural journey towards truth because I was not already bought and sold on the spiritual aspects of psychedelics. I came into it naturally. There was a moment where I kept having the calling to go back because I would gain so much information on my personal development. I ended up slowing my use down once I went to college to play baseball because I linked my everyday issues to my psychedelic experiences. I felt as if I had learned all I could have and they stopped offering me what desired. I have a strong belief that there is another out there that knows you better than you could ever know yourself. This other gives access to only what you can handle during that time. For example, we wouldn't try and explain physics to a child because it would be skipping the steps that lead up to understanding a subject like physics. That is why the psychedelics were now speaking to me on the way they used to. It was because of my current perspective of the world at that given time. We cannot build our truths of sand, they must be built on a solid foundation. This solid foundation takes time and hard work. I feel as if my whole life and every experience was leading me up to this experience. It was truly beyond words and has provided me with a taste and a connection with the ever-changing harmony of this universe. I hope you enjoy the story. Deer Creek, June 6, 2018, Dead & Company Show. As the weeks led up to this concert, I had just came off a wonderful weekend at the Dark Star Jubilee in Legend Valley, Ohio. This weekend reminded me of the true power when I open up to the love of others and let my inspiration flow. These next 2 weeks this love trickled into my everyday, but life became unclear as the days moved along. Looking forward to my next show at Deer Creek, in which I would be reuniting with my two best friends Daniel and Isaiah from my childhood, who happen to be brothers. After planning for months, we decided as a group to take a sacrament at the show together. This sacrament being fresh white fluff liquid from the descendants of the BEL. It was renowned Hikarish Tal, which is renowned crystal in the community CS testing at 99.9% purity. Knowing the power of the substance compared to the lesser quality of Lucy that my friends were acquainted with in high school, I was very hesitant leading up to the weeks, not only for my experience but my friends as well. Day of the show. My friends and I all wake up at the Sleepy Bear campground, from the night before of playing guitar, getting comfortable with our neighbors, and catching up with endless laughs. As we wake up and smoke our morning joints, we continue as the night before. Throughout the day I am dreading the trip and just really trying to find any way out not to take the sacrament. I tried convincing myself 1,000 different ways not to take it, but I knew that my friends needed to experience this pure sacrament along with the magic this music can provide. As the concert approaches, my knees begin to knock harder and harder before the concert, with anticipation of the unknown. As we walk through Shakedown, my friends are enamored with the scene. Quickly we pass through Shakedown and we are off to the show. Gates open. We flood in to find our seats on the lawn and prepare our space. At this point I am still trying to find ways not to take it. I would make comments like, hey, you know, once we take it we're in it, and other ones like, hey, are you guys sure you want to take this stuff? Our plan is to take our cubes 15 minutes before the band would get on stage. This would allow the come up to happen when the music is playing. 7:15 cheers, we all say a prayer, look at each other in the eyes, and down the hatch they went. My friends dosed around 150 micrograms, I dosed what I believe to be around 600 micrograms. I mistakenly grabbed a dose that I put to drops at 150 micrograms each dose. I laid these doses 1 year before this concert, being the reason I mixed them up. I was soon to find this out very quickly. 15 minutes the band is on, I and my friends look at each other, hug with excitement, and fasten our seatbelts. The first song comes on with a firing other one, starting me through my ego-shattering come up. I almost can't take the music, it's so powerful. There was a fine balance. If I listened too much it would throw me through not only psychedelic fields of vision, but every sound felt as it was tearing parts of me away. During the come up, I kept telling myself, yeah, I'm feeling good now, the come up is over, and just overall trying to convince myself the peak has reached its peak. As I sang this, my field of vision is deteriorating, my legs were beginning to turn into water, metaphorically speaking. As I looked up in the sky, just above the pavilion that the pit and the stage are under, I saw 8 or 9 distinct entities line up right along the top of the pavilion. They were made of gray-like substance and only had heads. They were showing themselves, sinking back into themselves, and then popping back out again. All while having a gesture like a smile, that looked exactly like the Guy Fawkes mask from Anonymous. So that really freaked me out. I have been taking psychedelics for a century now and never have seen distinct entities of such that did not leave after I looked away. They were also making the craziest geometric forever changing objects. Objects that I have seen in deep visions, but it was never being projected by entities like this. Right after this the first set over ended. I wiped my head thinking of what was just even played. The whole first set sounded as if it was one song. Believing the come up was over, I begin to sit down when a fractal begins to take over my field of vision, leaving behind complete metallic darkness, I would like to call it, with every single shape having the brightest light within it that seemed to be pulling my body into the light. At this point, I had lost all hearing and I thought I was really dead at this time. The more I fought this vision, the more it became more intense until it felt as if I just smoked DMT. Finally I released and I was released from the vision. It ended when everything was just about to turn to black and I was in that space. There was only those lights that I described and one light in the center that was illuminating the most beautiful thing ever. That had taste, wind, and everything imaginable inside them. When I was released I felt as if I went through a death and rebirth experience, that truly set me up for one of my first true mystical experiences. It was the first time I saw the true power and potential each and every person has in every second of the day. The power to really use your power to spread the true love that exists within this earth. This was the first time I truly saw the pure crystal divine love of God. The second set comes, I feel like I am swimming in the ocean and vision I have become comfortable with and was then able to see the interconnective web that was connecting us all in some way. In this moment I knew that what it was and I had no doubt about it. How cheesy it sounds. There is a strange feeling as if anything and everything is connected through a certain way. This connection is through love and I am reminded once again in completely different ways over and over again that good love is the only power. Dancing through the crowd, I came into a hug in which I do not even know how I started to hug the guy. But we hugged for a good minute and it was an indescribable feeling that we both shared. During the hug, I had a vision that is similar to an Alex Gray drawing, but we were both molecules swirling around a vortex and every time the molecules would pass each other it would shoot a spark of jewels. Simultaneously as we hugged and started synchronizing our breaths, a feeling inside me grew, and the molecules began to gain speed until they reached the top of this vortex. At this moment I felt an explosion inside of my chest and I felt like our chests were connecting together, and he then right at that moment looked at me with tears in his eyes and said, "Did you feel that?" I was like, holy shit, did I felt that, LOL. But just that power of a hug, we never know how deeply it can affect us in our everyday lives. That's how powerful we are. Every look, smile, thought is more powerful than we could ever imagine. And there is hope in that. This vision very closely replicated the form of the double helix molecule. The message, symbolism, and beauty of the vision were screaming love. Love is the base of all creation, it is in our DNA. We must take back our true nature because I feel as if we have been greatly severed from the spirit. Throughout the whole night I could see the true magic that lies within every single moment of time. We have the capability to see through a perspective that is so pure, that sees the moment without having the persona or ego of the person adjusting it in any way. There is something that is much deeper within us that is guiding us or trying to. As the concert came to an end we made our way back to the Sleepy Bear. For those who were there they will remember the wicked lightning storm following the concert. Drying of in the car, me and my friends had some of the most truthful conversations ever. Leading us into rabbit holes only to come to the simple answers that good love is the only answer. This music has touched me in so many ways that's it's indescribable, but more of the people around me and what we can do for each other. After all, we all are indeed special but not at all different. We all have an empty cup that only love can fill. I hope this story conveys the emotion that I wish to provide. Much love. Here is a little metaphor that summarizes my experience. I feel as if we are all individuals trying to come into contact with the true potential of our souls. I have pondered the thought multiple times that if we strip away all of our layers that we believe to be ourselves we will all realize that we are the same. I feel as if there is some truth to this, that we are all the same in the manner that we all have the responsibility as humans to carry out the divine love that provides the mapping of how we should live our lives. But there is more of me thinking that as individuals we all have a specific purpose through our own experience and qualities as a human being, and the more we come in touch with our soul the more we will become in tune with our true purpose as an individual. The metaphor is that together if we are all aligned with our true selves we produce a mirror that reflects the true divine love of God. But the more individuals that do not come into tune with their true selves begins to chop and shatter the mirror. This can only be done so much until the mirror becomes unrecognizable. I feel as if the psychedelic community carries the torch for the mirror, and it is our duty to turn on as many people as possible through our everyday acts of love.